good morning, and welcome to my Monday messages. For those of you who might be watching me for the first time, my name's Rebecca. I'm a homeopath, a holistic life coach, and a natural health advocate. And my Monday messages are an opportunity for me to share any tips, simple practices, knowledge, experience, anything that I think will help all of us to become more conscious of how we can lead our optimum healthy lives, both on a physical level, an emotional level, and a spiritual level, hopefully all three. So if you're watching me live, you're very, very welcome. And equally, if you're watching the replay, you're just as welcome. Please do comment in the thread below if you have any experience of what I'm talking about, you have any views, or you just want to say hello. That's fine too. So today, I wanted to talk about, in the vein of what I think a lot of us are doing at the moment, which is setting our intentions, putting a kind of plan or a map together for how we want to live our lives, or perhaps sections of our life, parts of our lives, going forward over the next 12 months. And we've spoken about, in previous lives, I've spoken about the importance of setting your intentions first. And now perhaps you're kind of on your way with that and deciding, how you want to feel over the next 12 months. You're perhaps maybe starting to focus on, well, okay, what's the action plan then? What can I do? What can I utilize? What resources can I pull in to help me to get closer to how I want to feel? And one of those tools, certainly a tool that I've found very useful, is accountability. And it's something that we, in my business group, Pimp My Practice, we have a monthly accountability call. And I came across a few people recently who kind of almost recoiled at the word accountability. And it set me thinking about, okay, why might that be? Why might the connotations around being accountable repel somebody, might bring up some form of resistance? And then I remembered actually that is exactly how I felt many years ago. And for me, well, I can only tell you what it meant for me, basically. And I'm going to share that with you today in the hopes that you might do some kind of digging within yourself as to if you do have resistance to doing some kind of accountability, whether that's in your business or generally your relationships, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just getting some clarity over why that might be, why you might feel a resistance to it, and what it might mean to you. Because it is a very valuable tool, which I will come on to tell you about. But for me, I realised that accountability I had attached a long time ago from my childhood upbringing and my schooling, actually, a kind of punitive tone to accountability. You will be held accountable. So there was a kind of inference for me around the word that if I was going to be held accountable, there was going to be a sense of blame and there was going to be a sense of some kind of punishment. And so therefore, everything around being held accountable for me was quite uncomfortable and quite negative. Once I understood that, and lots of things helped to shift that, I could then look at the benefits of it, because in most cases, everything has both a positive and a negative, for lack of a better expression, meaning or value. if you like. And it linked in for me with another value system that, again, was very strong in my upbringing, both in my schooling and in my family upbringing. And that was, if you say you're going to do something, by God, you better do it. Your word is your bond, all of those things. And I'm sure that some of you watching will probably recognize those kind of values. And that value can be an amazing driver for productivity and for pushing yourself perhaps a little bit out of your comfort zone and accomplishing things that you perhaps didn't think you were going to. And it can also be quite crippling, because if you decide that you cannot ever break that value, as I did for a long time, what it meant for me, that and my kind of beliefs around the word accountability, meant that I never shared anything. I never spoke anything out loud, not even to myself. I didn't even journal on what my intentions were, what my plans were, what my dreams were, my hopes, and anything that I wanted to. I had no map, basically, for going forward, because I didn't want to be perceived or found out when I perhaps didn't achieve what I'd set out to achieve or what I had intended. I didn't want to feel that I'd failed in some way. So it was easier, more protective of me, not to ever promise anything, not to ever put anything down on paper or say it, share it with anybody, because then that couldn't happen. I couldn't be blamed. I couldn't be punished. It wasn't my fault. But if it does, then I would encourage you to really think about that and to stay with it, and perhaps I'm aware I just cut out there. Yes, I was just saying to stay with those uncomfortable feelings, perhaps, and try and get some clarity over why those feelings might have been set up. Because accountability as a tool for any of us wanting to continue to progress, to grow and to move forward in whatever way, as I say, whether it's your business, your relationships, anything at all, we are much more likely to succeed with the little steps that we identify, the action steps, if you like, that are going to get us to or further towards where we want to be. They're much more likely to happen if we bring them into our consciousness. First of all, our consciousness. So that means inevitably that even the act of writing things down in a journal, writing your plan down, writing down the action steps that are going to help you realize that plan, even that it can be really powerful in itself. It's down there on paper. You can review it. You can compare it to what you did last year to see, are there any patterns in what you're not doing, for example. But even more powerful than that is to share it with another human being. So whether that's your partner, whether that's your children, sometimes, if it's a parenting issue, a family issue, whether that's another practitioner, if you're a health practitioner, especially one that's working on her own, it can be lonely. Hooking up with somebody else doesn't have to be the same discipline. That's not important. Or with a friend, a good friend. Just having a witness to our plans and our dreams and our intentions can really magnify, amplify the possibility of it actually coming to fruition, of it actually happening. And it can be a really positive driver as well if you remember that value of, well, I've said it now, so it's going to happen. I'm just going to break, out of my comfort zone maybe, and do whatever I can to make sure that happens. Now, I'm not saying that you kill yourself, trying to achieve something just because you said you'd do it. But if we remember that the main driver behind this is our intentions, so if we're sticking to our intentions, then using accountability as a driver to just nudge us forward a bit can be very, very handy. And certainly the calls that we have, I know that the current participants find them very, very handy, and helps to keep them on track. It helps me to keep on track too, because I am an active participant in these calls. So, and I actually have accountability buddies in about 3 or 4 different areas of my life. And also I make sure that I'm accountable to myself, because ultimately that's who we are accountable to. So that act of journaling, of writing things down and putting a list together, or a plan, or some kind of map of the action steps that you want to take, just broken down into bite-sized chunks. So, as I say, we have our calls once a month. We find that that's a good pace. That's enough time to actually implement what you've said you're going to implement. It can be really handy to keep a check on your expectations as well, and your time management skills. Because often we overpromise. We think we can do much more than we actually can in a short space of time. And being aware of that, that perhaps when you meet your accountability body the next time you meet, or when you do your review of your journal, what you promised the previous month, noticing the things, first of all, that you did do, that you were on target for, that flowed, and that you're actually now implementing, and really congratulate yourself on that. There's a celebratory element to it, because we don't do that enough, I don't think. And it's nice to do that in a group sometimes, or even with another person, a witness again. And the second thing is to notice if there is a pattern emerging of the things that you don't do, the things that you consistently somehow shove to the bottom of the list, or that somehow never seem to quite get off the ground. And that can tell you a lot about where your resistances are, where your comfort zone is, and whether that's in fact working for you and you don't need to be putting that thing on the list anymore, or whether you need to perhaps do a bit deeper, do a bit of a deeper dive into why, what on one level you want to do, but on another level it's just not happening. So I noticed I dipped out again. So obviously the internet is not great today, so apologies for that. So I hope you heard all of that. You might give me a thumbs up or something if you, cutting out a lot. So I think I'm going to have to wind this up today. So that was my message today, really. It was just to encourage you to have a look at how you feel about the word accountability. Are you carrying any kind of negative connotations around that word? And if so, how have they served you in the past? Because they will have been there for a reason. But also, how are they working now? Could you actually set up some kind of accountability, whatever it is that works for you? I would encourage you to start by journaling, if you write things down, your plans and your goals and your expectations, your action steps that are going to help you realize those goals or those plans or those feelings. And then see if you can take it one step further and share it with somebody. And perhaps ask them to share with you. So you've got that nice reciprocal arrangement where you can gently nudge each other along. And I want to be very clear that this is never, ever, ever a punitive thing or a failure thing. There is no failing or passing attached to accountability. There is the only implications of not realizing some of what you've intended to realize in a given chunk of time will be the spirit of compassionate inquiry. So just first of all, being conscious of why things are not really getting done, if you've marked them as being valuable to you, and asking yourself why. Why? I wonder why that thing doesn't happen when I really want it to. And perhaps then reassessing it and inviting your accountability buddy, whoever he or she may be, to do that for you if you find it difficult to do it for yourself, and for you to do it to them, obviously, and just gently say, oh, I've noticed that actually this is that thing. You've mentioned that in three different meetings, and I'm just wondering, why perhaps it might be still on hold. So gentle support, collaboration, witnessing, they're all important parts of a really successful accountability. If you feel you can do all of that for yourself, then that is fantastic. If you can take the load off yourself and keep clicking out, the internet keeps dropping, so sorry about that. Yes, I was just saying that if you can share with another human being or a group, it makes it even more powerful. So if you are a practitioner and you feel like joining my group, then do click on the link below and you can do that there. If you want to know more about perhaps setting up a coaching session with me to talk about accountability, that's some of my clients might use those sessions for that. You can do that by clicking on the link too. You can just set up a free call with me, and I welcome your comments as ever below. So wishing you a wonderful week, and I hope that this has been useful. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.